right, so good afternoon. Welcome everybody to our Saran Winter 2020 Ask Me Anything webinar. My name is Alex Clay. I am the CEO here at Saran Systems. I'm joined by Chris Widener in our marketing department. We are going to give you a little presentation, kind of looking back at 2020, a couple notes of what's coming ahead. And then we're going to open the floor up for questions. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in here. So as I said, this is primarily just sort of an open floor conversation. Ask me anything. I'm happy to answer any questions related to CDM Plus or Saran. About the only thing I won't answer is what I got my wife for Christmas, because this is going to go on YouTube before Friday, and I want to make sure we don't spoil any surprises. I'm just joking. So I've got a short presentation, again, to kind of look back, a brief look ahead, and then we'll just open the floor for whatever questions you've got. So looking back, I wanted to call out a few different interesting facts about some things we've been doing over the course of 2020. I checked some numbers yesterday afternoon. And so far, we've, if you called into our support team and had a chat with us, we're happy to talk to you. You've got some company. We had just under 10,000 support calls over the course of this year, and a bit over 5,000 support emails. So we've been busy talking to folks, finding out how we can help them in their daily work and their ministry, serve their mission, and been very busy with our support this whole year. Spent, I'm sure by this point, over 260,000 minutes on the phone. And across that, probably the thing that just is the best to see is that we've spoken to and worked with getting close to 3,000 different people, which is just a tremendous opportunity and really a blessing for us to get to talk with folks from all backgrounds, all walks of life, all across the country, and find out how we can help you. In terms of support, one of the biggest things we came out with this year is our Help Center. This is at help.saran.com. If you haven't been here yet, I highly encourage you to take a look. I'm going to talk about getting ready for our January year-end season, and the Help Center will be very instrumental in that. And I'm sure we'll have some questions that we might be able to find some good answers here. But the Help Center came out earlier this year. Looks really good, whether you're on your computer, pulling it up on your phone, on a tablet on the side, good search interface to it. And we're constantly adding new information, updating, reorganizing content here as we try to make this a great resource for everybody. Looking past support, wanted to talk some about events. Now, unfortunately, of course, the dominating happening this year has been the COVID-19 pandemic. One of the impacts of that pandemic has been that we canceled our 2020 conference. Normally, we would have seen many of you in Ohio at the end of September. This is actually the second time since we started doing conferences in 1997 that we have not had an annual conference. We missed it in 1999, we missed it in 2020. But in the lieu of having an in-person gathering, we've had quite a few webinars this year. So including today's, we've actually hosted 22 webinars over the course of 2020. And in fact, these webinars have been the largest we've ever had, both in pre-registrations and attendance. So this has been, hopefully you feel this way, but for us, we definitely feel this has been a good way to stay in contact and be able to still get together and have some conversations about CDM Plus, Saran, and how we can help you out. I want to just run through some of those webinars in briefly, because I feel they kind of provide a nice little snapshot of the ebb and the flow as the year went along. We started in January of 2020 with 10 webinars in that month alone, covering year-end topics, 1099s, W-2s, contribution statements, and so on. We then moved into talking about data hosting, using Engage for membership. And then as the pandemic kind of broke mid-March, we held a long webinar just kind of talking about online giving with Engage, top to bottom. This has always been an important service that we offer, and it became even more so. So we had a really good chat. I remember that as a very detailed webinar. But then we moved into an Ask Me Anything in April. So the one we're doing today is the second one this year. And then from there, we kind of turned to talking about new product enhancements. We had some updates to Engage. We started to sort of merge our web ministry tools and Engage Giving together. In August, we had more Engage enhancements, and we started talking about our Student Plus 11.1 update. September, we announced our new Engage plans and fees. And then as we've gone through the sort of the last quarter of the year here, it's been a lot of focus on the new products that have come out. So over the course of a year, we've had a lot to talk about and been very happy to have all of you come and join us and listen. So looking a little more closely at some of the products we've come out with this year, the sort of headlining ones are the CDM Plus 11.1 update. We also had a CDM Plus mobile update, numerous updates to Engage, and not exactly a product, but we did overhaul our plans and offer some new fee structures for online giving and registrations and so on with Engage. CDM Plus 11.1 came out 2 months ago. It's kind of hard to believe October wasn't yesterday, but that was about 2 months ago, and included features like merging giving units, updates to accounts payable, links in emails, support for the new 1099 NEC, and just a smattering of enhancements throughout the program. So this has been out. We've had several updates to 11.1 since then, and we're continuing to work to refine and enhance CDM Plus 11.1. CDM Plus Mobile came out right about the same time. The largest feature in this update was mobile receipts, which we've gotten a lot of great feedback on. This allows you to snap a picture of a receipt and submit that directly into accounts payable as people are remote. And even as we hopefully in the not too distant future are back together again, this is a great way to go paperless and streamline your operations. On top of mobile receipts, Mobile 2.3 included just a tremendous speed of upgrade from logging in all the way throughout using the app. Engage has had a number of enhancements throughout the year, and I wanted to call out some of the larger ones. Some of these feel like they've been there forever, but very truly, all of these have been added just this year in 2020. Saving the app to your home screen, the organization directory to help find your Engage, giving history, which was there before, but we enhanced it to be fully searchable. We updated their email notices, lots of speed boosts, expiring card notifications, so people know in advance that they need to update their card to keep their donations going. The search transactions, which is an upgraded version of payment administration, was added this year. Engage now lets you do all the setup in Engage. We added one-time charges. So if you're doing a bake sale or sort of a one-time charge for something, it works really well on Engage, especially on a mobile device. Multi-fund text giving, one text to give to multiple funds. Fee Assist, which is a huge enhancement. We were very happy to bring that out. This lets you pass along the transaction fees to your donors to help you get 100% of your donation. And just Tuesday this week, just 2 days ago, we added the ability to see invoices and payments and billing. So if you're using accounts receivable, childcare, rentals, anything like that, your folks, your customers can now log in and see those invoices and payments. And that's just sort of the highlights that I pulled out of the release notes and the what's new over in the Help Center. There's a lot more enhancements than that. As I said, another big change we had to Engage that we came out with back in September and sort of went into effect in October was to overhaul the plans and make flat rate fees an option. So we have 3 plans for Engage: Standard, Payroll, and Complete. Everyone kind of got transitioned to what was closest to what they had. Everybody got new features, and the majority of people saved on their monthly fees. So we rolled together what used to be a separate fee to Stewardship, our payment processor, and to Saran, and now it's just one. We also have offered, it's not required, but we are starting to see more and more people take advantage of this, predictable standard rates with flat fees. They're right in line with sort of the industry competition. But the nice thing with these flat rate fees is that you kind of know exactly how much the fee is going to be on a gift, and that lets us then calculate those and offer the Fee Assist feature. So looking ahead a little bit, we are just a couple of weeks away from January, which in case you are new to our Saran family this year, welcome. And January is a very busy time for everybody. We've got tax forms to get out that you haven't done in about a year, whether that's W-2s or 1099s or producing giving statements. So that's always a very concentrated, focused time to sort of finish up the previous year, get the new year started, and we do our best to be all hands on deck to make sure we're there to help you every step along the way. Last year, for January 2020, we offered what we call the January Survival Guide. And this will persist and continue to be an offering that we have. We're moving it into the Help Center along with the rest of our resources. If you haven't seen so far, if you haven't seen any of the emails, make sure that you're up to CDM Plus 11.1. There's a new 1099 form if you have any contractors, the NEC for non-employee compensation. That's available in 11.1. And we've sharpened up some of the tax calculations on some states and so on. Those are also requiring CDM Plus 11.1. One change I wanted to share, I mentioned before we had 10 webinars in January of 2020. We decided to not hold any webinars during January this year. Instead, we're taking what's on the January Survival Guide in the Help Center and is really stretching that out into some very top-notch written out documentation, combination of step-by-step instructions, screenshots, videos calling out specific steps, animated GIFs. We're in the middle of putting that together, and it's shaping up to be a very, very nice resource. We had all this information available last year as sort of pre-recorded webinars, so that was on the survival guide. We then sort of walked through that again 10 times during that month, and that was well received, but that does require a fair amount of effort on our part to put those webinars on, and the people doing those webinars are not able to help with folks calling in for help or emailing us. So this year we've decided to lean on the Help Center, and that way we have more staff available to help take calls and respond to emails during the month of January. I want to mention a few things that we're looking at building or are in the middle of building or considering for 2021. There's a little footnote in the bottom left there. I just have to say that these are all currently under active consideration. I'm going to share these because I believe that we've got a pretty good shot of seeing those come out. But of course, as needs and program updates and requirements change, we may get some of these sooner or later, or that might shift. As we sort of announced back when the 11.1 came out, there were a few more features, larger features that we wanted to get in 11.1, but we were getting close to the end of the year, and we wanted to go ahead and make sure we got that release out, we got the 1099 update available, and we get as many people updated before January as we can. So we're in the middle of that now. We're seeing some pretty good adoption for 11.1, but we've got some bigger features, some additional merging, the ability to import a bank reconciliation, as well as some additional bug fixes and polish. And the development team is focusing on getting all of that together. We're not planning any major updates to CDM Plus during January, but following January, you'll see a couple more 11.1 releases as we get the rest of that product ship shape and finished up and shipped out the door. If you need this next feature, you're going to be really happy. If you don't, that's okay. But we have a number of folks that serve multiple congregations or need to connect to multiple databases with mobile. We've been working now for a while to get the ability to have multiple provisions. That's led to some internal sort of redesign, handling some fun edge cases. But as that gets shaped up, we'll get that put together and shipped out, and that'll be a CDM Plus Mobile 2.4. If you were at the conference perhaps in 2019, or you might have heard us talk about our Engage Forms feature. Engage Forms is something that we were working on towards the end of 2019, start of 2020. And this is an open-ended form builder. If you're familiar with using Google Forms or something like that, it's similar in that regard. The difference is Engage Forms can pull information from your CDM Plus database, so it's pre-populated, and then it can take information that people fill in and actually offer to save that back into CDM Plus, either automatically or with your review and approval. So Engage Forms has just sort of a tremendous creative, wide open application to it. And we were making some pretty good progress on Engage Forms. As we got into 2020, we already had plans to do some enhancements over on the giving side of Engage. But when the pandemic broke, it became very apparent that we needed to put a fair amount of our resources into the giving side, things like fee assist and so on. So we sort of set Engage Forms to the side. We've been working on getting Engage sort of settled down into a really solid state. feel that we're pretty much about there. And the developers are actually over the next couple of weeks putting some plans together to sort of pick up Engage forms and get that out the door sometime in 2021. As we've announced earlier this year, our legacy web ministry tools product is getting folded into Engage. You've already seen that with giving, with some of the older tools, the payment administration setup, and so on. We're rapidly getting to a point where what's left is to rebuild some of the tools into Engage. And probably the biggest one of that is registrations. And the development team is very, very excited to do this. And we've got a lot of ideas about how to streamline registrations, make it very easy to register a whole family at once, for example, add user fields, all kinds of other good enhancements that we're looking to bring along when we rebuild registrations directly natively into Engage. After we finish up Seeding Plus 11.1, we'll be taking a look at 12.0. Some of you hopefully filled out our survey we sent back in November, looking for what areas of CDM Plus would have the most impact for your ministry. And based on that response heavily, as well as some other priorities and needs, we're currently planning for CDM Plus 12.0 to have a focus on report enhancements. Speed actually is probably going to be the biggest one on there, and some window design updates. We had hoped to have an online sort of training event, not a virtual conference, but an opportunity for sort of some 101 or bootstrap classes this fall. Looks like that's going to happen maybe sometime in the spring. We've seen a number of people that might be new to the position, or they're being asked to take on additional work. So maybe before you didn't do much with contributions or online giving, and now you're being asked to do that. So there's a need that we're hearing out there for just some fundamental solid training, multi-day over Zoom, maybe 30, 45-minute classes, that sort of thing. So we're in the middle of sort of planning out what that would look like, and stay tuned for some more information. Again, I'm kind of hoping to see that late winter, but probably more in the spring timeframe. As I said before, we had to cancel Saran 2020. It was scheduled to be in Dublin, Ohio, which is a suburb of Columbus. But that hotel is actually held essentially the same 3 days in 2021 open for us. Now, nobody's crystal ball is very good. It's not been good for a very long time. But as we kind of track and see where things are going over the coming months, kind of see what's possible to do safely, we'll be considering having Saran 2021 together. I don't see an in-person conference, again, done safely, as overlapping online training. In fact, I think those are very complementary. Online training is a great way to just focus on the details of using the program. There's not as much cost, especially for travel, for those that aren't necessarily near where the conference site is. But the conference provides a certain kind of energy and a way for people to get together and really dive into all things CDM Plus and Saran for a few days. So as we can kind of start to chart what the fall will look like, we'll be sending you some information there. Those are just some of the things we're looking at for 2021. We've got a lot more that we're talking about, considering, planning, and so on. But those are some that I wanted to share today. So at that point, that's essentially the update that I've got for everybody. So if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them as best I can. So go ahead and use that raise button feature in Zoom, and Chris will go through and unmute you, and hopefully I can get you a good answer. So Chris, who do we have to start?
Okay, Alex, I'm going to start with Pam Tucker. She doesn't have a mic on her, so she left her question in the chat. She just asked, how do I delete one recurring payable invoice out of several that are scheduled for the same date?
So if I'm sensing maybe not to delete the overall setup, but maybe when you're going to generate them. So when you go to generate your recurring payables, you get sort of a checklist of everything that's due for that date. And you can just uncheck the one that you don't want to generate. If you want to actually just get rid of the entire setup, you can go under the vendor records and find that on the recurring transactions tab. Hopefully that gets you going. If not, send us an email to support@cdmplus.com or give us our support team a call, and they can jump on and help you work through that.
Tom, do you have a question?
Yes, we're in the process of transferring from Vanco to Engage,
Mhm.
and we like the features in Engage very much.
Right.
There's one area that I'm not quite sure how to handle. We had a number of transactions that we set up by paper for people who didn't have email addresses with Vanco, and I'm not sure how to handle them the best way in Engage since they don't have email addresses.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand correctly. You've got their payment information, whether it's a bank account or a credit card or debit card, and you need to set up a recurring electronic gift for them, but they don't have an email. Is that correct?
That's right. It's
All right.
basically older members that
Yeah,
we did everything by paper originally, and we have all the information.
absolutely. I've actually got CDM Plus pulled up here. So let me go ahead and switch over. And there's a great feature that's available within CDM Plus, and that lets you actually go to somebody's giving unit record. And from there, you are able to access their Engage account. And you can even create an Engage account for them if need be, using your email, basically the church's email. There's a process for this over on the Help Center. But in short, what you're going to do, let me see if I can maybe find my record here. What I've got one here for Alex Clay. Over on Giving Unit Records, there's a tab here for Engage. Once you sort of set up an account for them, which you can do over on their individual, when you come in here, you're able to actually see their Engage account. So you can go in and you can create a new gift, key in their information, and do all of that on their behalf.
Okay, the email confirmations though, then I guess you're saying we would use our office email address?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we'll have extra email.
Yeah, you could definitely set up maybe just however you are able to administer your email. You could set up like a no reply, something like that, just sort of an unmonitored inbox, and just let that sort of, those emails just drift off there. I don't believe under the giving profile that it's possible to clear the email address and get none. Terry, are you on the call? Terry's our support engineer. If you would make a note, that would actually be kind of a nice feature to be able to go here on this email and say none, and just turn that off entirely.
Okay, that would be good.
Yeah.
I got it, Alex.
Thank you, Terry.
Lisa, do you have a question?
I do. Where the electronic W-2s are concerned, and you have to send out a consent form, basically. What if 3 out of the 4 want electronic W-2s and the other one doesn't? How do you handle that?
Sure. Now it's been just a minute, and if Terry's handy, I might pull him in on some of this because he's in the middle of updating all this information for 2020 W-2s. But if you go to their employee record under the setup tab here, you can turn on this electronic W-2 only. And you want to turn that on the 3 that said yes, leave that on the 4th.
Okay, perfect. I also have one other question, if I may.
Absolutely.
Okay, when you're like for the getting ready, I'm sorry.
On that electronic W-2 only, Alex, that is, those people are now put into a rigid structure that they can only receive electronic W-2s. That's not just to separate those out that want to do.
So that only is a strong keyword.
Yeah, and I think it falls into a different category within the IRS. So.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I'll see if I can find any more information on that.
Okay. Gotcha. Lisa, what was your other question?
Okay, when getting ready for 1099s and stuff like that, this is only my 2nd year in doing this, and it's been a year since I've done it. So I know there's been some updates. So how would I go in and pull up a list of my vendors not that are going to have $600 or more that I would need, and make sure that all of, just to have that list instead of pulling up 900 vendors. Is there a way I can pull up just the current, this year's vendors?
Yeah, actually, so you can, so a couple of things on that. The HRX who does our tax forms, they released their year-end update that went live, I believe, yesterday for everybody. So you can go ahead and start trying out your 1099s. You can definitely just go ahead and generate the 1099s and not file them. So that's a good way to sort of preview what you've got there. Past that, I believe, if you go under the payables, you can run your ledger report. You could do ledger by vendor and just search for your vendors there. I want to say I saw a request come through recently for a way to limit this on total. For
Yes.
now, what you would do is run this and maybe drop it over to Excel and sort by that total, and that way you can see who all you've got to work with.
When you do it here, it'll give you a list of the dollar amount that they received.
Yeah, you want to do this sort of composite and then turn on this 1099 items only. Let's see kind of what I might have here in this database. So this has my one vendor and it's got their total here of $750. So that's their total over whatever date time frame you put in here. So you 1/1 to 12/31. So it kind of looked just like that. So in this case, this person wouldn't have enough this year to receive a 1099.
Okay, so I know this sounds crazy, but let's just say Tom here, you see $35 there, and in my head, I'm like, I know I paid him more than that. I know I paid him more than $35.
So, yeah, so this is where I've got it filtered to just the 1099 items only. Maybe if you turn that off, that gets a bit higher, and you're going to see some differences there. The January survival guide, the help there that Terry's been working on for 1099s shows you where to go into vendor records and toggle that setting for people.
Yes, okay, because I may have forgotten to click 1099, or he wasn't set up initially as a 1099.
Right.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Kathy, do you have a question?
I do, and I feel sort of silly about asking anything because I don't do half of the stuff that you offer in CDM.
No worries at all.
We're a very small congregation, so I don't need to do a lot. The question is that my computers at church are considerably older than I am. No, just teasing. But anyway, we're afraid that we're not going to be able to update those to Windows 10. Do you have any suggestions other than buying new computers?
Yeah, so a couple of things. The 11.1 still runs on Windows 7. It just has to be a 64-bit.
Okay.
But and so you might be good to go for basically for right now. But the next major CDM Plus update, which is going to be fall of next year, we will no longer support Windows 7.
Okay.
So at that point, you would need to see if you could either update or you might need to get a new machine. The system requirements beyond the Windows version aren't super strong. You don't need a $1,000 computer or anything. So it might be something just to put the word out right now. Say, hey, anyone's getting a new machine for Christmas? Anyone that wants to make a donation? You could get something fairly low end from even Walmart or something like that for a couple $100, and that would run CDM Plus just great.
Okay. I don't even use the one at church, but my pastor does, because I do everything I do here at home.
Okay.
And I splurged and got me a new one, but that's okay.
Great.
Anyway, that was one of the questions that the pastor asked me to ask as well, because he uses his mobile phone to do everything. We don't do receipts. We don't do Engage. We don't do any of that. We got an elderly congregation like myself that probably wouldn't know how to do it anyway. But anyway, the other question I have, and I may need to call in, is that I have trouble archiving some older members out of the system that are no longer around. And I'd like to I set up the archive, the account system, but I'm not sure how to get everybody moved over there that I want to. When I tried it before, I wound up moving everybody and you all had to revamp it. So,
Okay. Okay. Well, this is actually a great time, and I figure this is coming up pretty soon to kind of show you the survival guide, the January guide, and archiving is one of the topics that we kind of cover and link to there.
okay.
So let me show you where sort of the guide on the help center is. But yeah, if you get stuck past that, just give our support team a call.
Okay.
One thing I will say about archiving, you do not need to archive in January. So if you've got other things you're worried about in January, if you want to kind of put that off, do it in February or March, that's no problem. So
Yeah.
don't feel too stressed or pressured there. The survival guide, when you go to help.saran.com, you can just type that into your browser. The other thing you can do is if you're in CDM Plus, you can go under the help menu at the top and go to open help center. That'll take you right over to the help center.
Okay.
Click on CDM Plus desktop here. And then if you scroll down right to the top, we've got this January survival guide pinned right up here.
Okay.
We'll be sending an email out once we've got all the information updated for 1099 NECs and so on. But if you scroll down, you'll see I've got information on sort of the year-end checklist, tax forms, and so on. And here's a section for archiving.
Okay.
If you click on archiving here, here's a video that we've put up that kind of walks you through archiving top to bottom. But this also links you over to sort of the whole, the full documentation on archiving. This talks to you about kind of things to think about ahead of time, what the process is, how you get to it. So there's lots of good information here. You can kind of read through a little bit. The biggest thing with archiving, and it sounds like you might be using our hosting, which is great. Just make sure you got a backup ahead of time. You have to work pretty hard to sort of permanently delete anything with an archive. You have to work real.
Yeah, don't count on it.
But yeah, we've got all this here. So give this a shot, and if not, give us a call, and we'll be happy to talk to you about it.
Yeah, I do have support, so I don't worry too much about messing things up. But
Great.
thank goodness, because I know you bailed me out before.
All right.
Anyway.
Yeah, we're happy to help.
Okay, so actually the answer to my first question is that we do need to go ahead and update to 11.1 regardless of Windows 7 or Windows 10, as long as we're a 64-bit.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, and if we're not a 64-bit, then I need to beg for a new computer at church before I do anything.
Yeah, 64-bit. You can take a look, and Chris, I don't know if you want to maybe drop into the chat link there. We've got a page on from Microsoft we've been sending people to check to see if you got a 64-bit processor. Sort of as we looked at our statistics on what our clients have, it was very, very small minority had the 64-bit. So hopefully you should be good to go. But if not, yeah.
I think my pastor actually looked when this came up earlier in the year, and because he was at church and I wasn't. And so I think he said it was a 64-bit, but we were concerned about it going to Windows 10 only.
Yeah, you got 64-bit, you may be able to upgrade it to Windows 10, but you've got a little time on that one.
Okay, great. I will work on that after the first of the year then.
All right.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, Alex, I'll drop that link in the chat in just a minute.
Okay.
Try to. Finding it takes 3 clicks to unmute sometimes. Or 6. There we go. Tammy, do you have a question?
Yes. This year in our system, we received a PPP loan for around $5,400, and we also received the SBAD Treasury loan, like a small business type loan through them too. And that was like around 32,000. And I'm not sure how to put them into our system.
Gotcha. So here in the help desk, if you kind of go in and go to the CDM Plus desktop, we've got a section here for how to do the PPP loan. In fact, if you just come into help.saran.com and start typing PPP and search, you'll get this first hit right here: tracking paycheck protection program loans and CDM Plus.
Okay.
Essentially, we've got sort of a guide here about a couple of ways to track and manage these expenses so that you can then report them as qualified and then have that forgiveness. I'm not directly familiar with the SBAD Treasury loan. If it's just a regular loan, you can set that up just in accounting as a liability and put any kind of interest and whatnot on there. But that might be something to check with kind of a tax professional, see if there's anything special to do for that kind of loan. You know,
Yeah,
different line of
because
credit.
we received that in July, and it was just a direct deposit into the bank, and we've not received anything else from it,
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
to make payments or anything. So I'm assuming it was a loan
Okay.
that had
Yeah.
something to do with disaster.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that might be something, again, kind of check with if you got a tax advisor or CPA that you can work with, kind of specializes in that area. And once they tell you what you need to do in terms of tracking it, if you need some help with how to put that into CDM Plus, just give us a call. We'll be happy to help with that.
Okay. Now, when I put the P loan into the system, like in the accounting,
Mhm.
how do I add that in, like under the accounts? Like,
You want to just go to this page and follow this guide right here. It'll walk you right through how to do it.
okay,
Yeah.
to start the account. Okay. All right. So just go look into PPP loan.
Yep. And Chris, if you get a chance,
Okay.
you can maybe just drop this link over in the chat. We'll do that too.
Okay, that sounds awesome. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right, that's what I needed to know. Oh, thank you so much. Y'all have a great day.
You too.
Okay, bye.
Dan, do you have a question?
Yes. We have started having trouble with sending out our newsletters, reaching the limit of 250. And is that something that because it has worked in the past, so is that something with SMTP to go or a problem on our side?
So 250 is, are you getting some kind of error message? Is that like a recipient count or a size limit?
I believe it's the count. I don't have it in front of me. It was on another terminal.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not aware of any sort of new restrictions from SMTP to go that would have changed. I do know there have been some issues this week with Gmail over on Google side, and we've had a few people contact us because Google was throwing errors, but that was on Google's end.
Yeah, in fact, the majority of the 100 and some that we had was Google.
Okay. Yeah, there was a pretty, and if you just kind of check online, Google had some issues earlier this week, which affecting receiving email on their end. It wasn't specific to SMTP to go or CDM Plus at all. So if you were seeing just some issues this week with Gmail, it could have been that Google issue. I'd maybe try sending again. My understanding is that's all sorted out on Google side. But if it's still ongoing, just go ahead and maybe grab some screenshots of what you're seeing and send that over to support, and we'll take a closer look.
Okay, thanks, Alex.
You're welcome. Good to hear from you.
Yeah.
Hey, Alex.
Yes.
This is Terry. I was looking up that thing with regard to the electronic W-2.
Oh, yes.
I wanted to give some information. That, so that everyone hears this, it's part of the webinar. The electronic W-2, if an employee elects this, then the organization needs to get a signed authorization from the employee. I knew there was something special. So it's not just saying that this person is, wants it electronic. This is something that the IRS is requiring a special authorization for.
Right.
Okay.
And one thing that might be good for that is if you want to store a copy of that electronic consent, you can generate those right here directly with the payroll tax forms through Atrix. I believe that's what this is, the electronic W-2 consent. Once you receive a copy of that from the employee, on employee records, you could create a user field to actually store a copy of that PDF. So you've got that or scan or image. So you could store that image right there with their employee record. And so you've got that documented. Thanks for looking that up, Terry.
You're welcome.
Let's see, Joe.
Yes. I've got a few problems with contribution statements. I'm looking at them before I send them out. And in one case, I cannot delete a duplicate contribution. This is something that happened back in August during the transition to Engage. I also have a couple of giving types that I have to change. I can't seem to do that. I get roadblocked each time I do this. And I'm really afraid of merging giving units at this point because I'm afraid of more duplicates. And Christy's been trying to help me on this, but we haven't been able to fix it.
Okay. All right. So I understand that you're seeing some duplicate contributions and you're not able to delete one of those. Probably maybe because it's posted over to Ledger or something along those lines.
Well, it turns out they're not posted to Ledger, both of them. One is pending and one is posted. I can't seem to get rid of the pending one.
Okay. Okay. I see. So it might be held over there. Yeah. On that one, if this is sort of just a duplicate record that was created when you moved into using Engage fully, you should be able to ask Christy to put up what we call a data services request. Just go and delete those out directly from the database. We can sort of go through the back of those. The other option would be to actually insert kind of an offsetting contribution as a negative. That would help your totals. It would look a little odd to the giver, though. You need to kind of explain what that is. But yeah, go ahead and ask Christy to say, hey, if this is just extra made from that contribution, we can take that out. And then likewise, if you're looking to change the payment type, you mentioned you got some roadblocks there. Is it not allowing you to change those? Are you getting some kind of error along those lines?
It's the giving fund that needs to change.
The giving fund that needs to change. Okay, gotcha. So one thing that you could be running into, if these were posted over from came through Engage and posted through deposit processing, we temporarily disabled the ability to edit GIFs that were posted through deposit processing after they were posted. And this was done to protect the integrity of the system after adding the ability to unprocess a deposit. The developers I've been working through enabling that feature again. I believe that is over to testing, and Terry, correct me if I'm wrong. We've actually got another CDM Plus update plan to come out early next week that would add that feature back. So if you're running into errors along the lines of, can't change a contribution that's been posted, that should be a lot easier to do after the next update. You won't have to unpost first.
Okay, good. The last one about merging the giving units.
Yeah.
I've got a giving unit code 77, and then because the person used Engage, I got the same person with a giving unit code with the first portion of their last name.
Sure.
If I merge those, what's going to happen?
Yeah, there's a great sort of guide actually over in the help center here on the Engage section about processing new accounts in CDM Plus. So this is when somebody went to Engage and they maybe had a new email and ended up creating a whole new account. So this page kind of walks you through how to actually go and merge them. You go through this process, everything gets folded together into one. They don't lose their ability to log in. They don't lose saved payment information. All their recurring gifts are still there. Essentially, everything is just folded down into one. So from the giver's perspective, nothing really changes. If they save their login to Engage, that still works. But for your side, everything's merged down into one giver, and it really works pretty well. A lot of people have had really good success with this.
All right, which one do I pick when I go to that screen that says merge and it shows the two? Which one do I bring into the box?
It doesn't necessarily matter if there's because you can then sort of pick and choose what information you want to sort of keep on the final giving unit. If there's one that you put in that kind of follows your conventions a little bit better, I'd recommend that as sort of the destination. And
Okay, good.
yeah, just so everyone can kind of see here, what we're talking about is the new feature in CDM Plus 11.1 for merging giving units, and it's this screen here. It's sort of which should be your destination. Again, everything ends up on one. We just kind of picked one as sort of to be the final to receive everything.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay, Alex, I'm gonna switch over to the chat real quick. Marlene at Altadena doesn't have a mic, so I'm gonna ask her a question. She said, due to changes in California law, some of our 1099s from 2019 were made employees. I made the employees as of January 1st, 2020. Do I need to do anything else?
That again would be a really good question for an accounting or tax professional. If they are technically classified as employees, if you put them in as employees and pay them through payroll, you'd be able to generate W-2s just like any other employee. So I would expect if you've made them employees, you'd be paying them that way. You made them employees and say still cut them checks out of accounts payable, that's going to be an issue. In that case, you need to sort of create one payroll to cover all of their pay for the year. I have not had anyone else ask me a question along this line. So I'm thinking that maybe it's fairly straightforward and there's nothing super special to do. But I would definitely check with your CPA or tax professional. Just say, hey, what do I need to be on the lookout for, and then go from there.
She said, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Sue, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. I'm interested in analyzing the gifts that we've received. And I've tried to look through reports and see what is available. And I really don't see much. And I don't know whether I'm looking at the wrong place or expecting too much or what. But I know other people have to have the same thing where they want to know, does this donor give specifically on a certain month every year? Or because we are a not-for-profit, we're not a congregation or a parish. And so it's good to have a little bit more knowledge about our donors.
Sure. Yeah, so there's lots of ways to analyze and look at your gifts. You could sort of look at, monthly totals. You could do a range report that sort of shows how many givers were given between $1 and $500 or 501 and 1500, however you want to do that. So what I'd recommend you do, because this is so broad, if you could just maybe email support and ask, here's the kind of information I want to be able to analyze, and we can give you some direction on how to access those through the reports.
Okay, when you say email, you mean go up to help and do the provide CDM plus feedback through there? How is the best way to do it?
Yeah, I'd recommend actually under help do this email tech support, or you can just email support@cdmplus.com.
Okay.
Email for all when you go under help, it just opens an email for you. If you provide feedback, that will get to us, but that's actually going to go over to the development team, and they only check that maybe every a day or two, and then they're going to route that to support, and then support will get it and get to you. So it'll get there. It'll just go through a couple extra steps. Yeah. So support@cdmplus.com is the best place to start. And yeah, just give us a sense of what you're looking for, and we can definitely help you craft those reports.
Okay, good. Thank you. My other question is on backup. We just recently went to hosting.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that you all do the backup daily, correct?
That's correct.
Should we perform our own backup periodically? And if so, how often?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we back up every day. It runs between generally about 1 and 3 a.m. Eastern time. And we keep those backups for 14 days. So we've got those to be able to go back to or pull something at any time. Um, you are welcome to back up anytime you would like. I would definitely recommend if you are going to do some major work, maybe you want to overhaul your designations, giving funds, or change your accounts, or do some larger work, and you want to be able to have a copy of what your data was like beforehand for reference. That's a good time to do a backup. We can also, if you just again email support, you can ask us to make a clone of your database. We've had some people do this again when they're doing some larger restructuring, for them to go in and say, I want to know what we rebuilt our chart of accounts. I need a copy of how that was. So we'll actually make a separate copy for historical purposes. The third thing you could do, if you wanted to kind of preserve that, you could use the archive utility and use the copy function and just make a kind of clone of just sections of the database that way. So the event that's going to drive you to backup kind of depends on, do you need to see a copy of it beforehand? Are you going to make a whole mess of changes and so on? But past that, you can back up if you feel that you want that extra sense of security. But otherwise, we've got your backups covered. And the nice thing is also CDM Plus now has what we call the audit log, runs internally, and we keep track of all the changes to your records. So we've been able to use that in certain cases before to go and find something got deleted some months ago. We were able to go and research that, sort of for those edge case rare occurrences.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Dee Chapman, do you have a question?
I do. We have been using Engage for ages and ages, and it, saved us this summer and through this year. But my WMT will no longer allow me to change the giving codes that are available through Engage. Where do I do that now?
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So there's a couple of things here. I think what you're asking about is maybe changing the giving sets and so on that you've got in Engage. So
yes.
Earlier this year, we started making all the setup functionality for Engage available in Engage. So it's all just in one product. And the trick to doing that is for the first thing you need is an individual in your CDM Plus database that is for you. You need your own Dale Chapman individual. And on that individual, when you go to individual records, I'll go ahead and pull mine up here. Right here in this online credentials section, you should have a role, and by default, this might say standard. You need to change and set your role to administrator. And what that does is that gives you access when you log into Engage to the administrative functions. And that is where you can make those changes. So let me log in here and I'll show you where to get to that. Under the navigation in the top right, you go down to admin. And from here, this is where you can get to all your settings. So your giving sets, this is where you can go in here. And if you click, this will let you change and add your funds, and everything you could do in WMT is available here in Engage.
Excellent. I knew it was going to be easy once I figured it out. Thank you so much, Alex. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. And just to follow up comment, the update we released on Tuesday now changes it that if you've updated to 11.1, which we're encouraging everyone to do, when you go to WMT and you try to go to the setup here, it automatically takes you to Engage, because that's where we want to do all the setup from forward. Yep. All right, great.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Trying to unmute.
Hi, Shane. Thank you for taking my question. Is CDM will offer Canadian payroll service at a point of time?
Excellent. Canadian payroll service. Okay, so I'm going to break that down into 2 steps. Step 1 is payroll service. Step 2 is Canadian payroll service. The short answer is not in the immediate future. That's not like something we're looking to do, say, in the next 6 to 12 months. But a payroll service is something that We've had some pretty heavy conversations on back and forth as actually sort of a new service we could offer. We do have folks that use CDM Plus payroll in Canada. It's a little bit dicier just because we don't manage and publish all the Canadian tax tables, but that is something that we've seen interest for. So the short of it is today, that's not available. It's not sort of in the immediate plans, but that's something that we're definitely interested in. So I don't know if that helps you through your planning, but it's something that is definitely a possibility.
Okay. And my second question to you, again, in terms of accounts payable, we track the sales tax here for our invoices. When we enter any invoice, it's called the GST. And there is no room in the accounts payable module that you offer that enable us to track the tax. If there is also something in the future that you can help us with.
Yeah, maybe. So this is in your payables. So you need to itemize the tax that you're paying. Are you able to then claim that as sort of as a tax exempt organization? Are you able to get that as a refund?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Would it be possible when you enter your invoice to simply break that GST out to a separate line? And you could then turn around and report all of the expenses to that GST account?
That's what we're currently doing.
Okay.
And yeah, we have to set up a separate ledger for it to track it. That's true. But the funny thing too is that when we go ahead and print a check, on the check stub, it comes all this itemization. So the vendor that we are paying, you look at the check stub and say, whoa, what is all of that?
I gotcha. Okay, that's a really good question. Excellent. I've got a friend that works with some nonprofits, and he's based in Vancouver area. I might pick his brain on some of this. Yeah, let me take a look and see if this is something we can build in fairly easily to be able to just carry along through that process.
Okay, thank you. And I just have one last question in terms of contribution. I have some of the folks up here that they set up auto withdrawal from their bank accounts to the church account. Mm-hmm. And it happened, let's say, on the 3rd of each month. So I set up their accounts at their address that we have on the 3rd of each month, certain amount that comes automatically into our bank account. And the way we do it is that we go ahead and create a batch at the end of the day, and we say load all the pre-authorized people as a debit. Mm-hmm. What happened is that when the batch is created, it only loads the first person on that day. The other people on the same day does not load them up. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
I gotcha. I'm not sure this database has too many recurring contributions set up, but I think all you need to do is on the load recurring contributions. You need to select everybody on that left list before you click load. I believe that's all you need to do. If that doesn't work, give us a chat at support and we'll take a closer look. Let me see again. I don't know if I've got some in here. Yeah, so what you want to do instead of if you just click create here, that'll just do the one. But if you select all of them, that should create all of those.
Oh, great. Yeah, thank you. That's all I have.
You're welcome.
Shannon, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. At our church, we have new members fill out a card, a new membership card. And so I have 50 plus years worth of membership cards, which is quite a bit, and have started to put them in put a PDF in their record of that card. And what I was wondering is, and we are hosted with you guys, but what I was wondering is the picture of that card kept in the hosting data at wherever you guys keep it, or is it kept on my computer?
Yeah, let me just make sure when you're saving these, are you going under the user fields and loading it up here as sort of,
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
yes, that is saved with your data. So if
Okay.
your computer were to unfortunately die or have some problem, we
Right.
have that backed up and saved with the rest of your data.
Okay. I'm just a little bit concerned about throwing them away,
Oh, sure.
but
No, that's that. It's saved, and in fact, it's not even stored separately. It's literally within your database with everything else. And I can tell you, kind of tracking some of our database sizes, that's a very popular move to go paperless, and it works very well for folks. I just know that because people's databases are getting a lot bigger over the last couple of years, and that is no problem.
okay.
There's no size limit to essentially how much information you can store in your database.
Okay. That was my second question.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you got really big, we might need to take a look at that. But we have a number of individual databases that are in 5, 10, 15 gigabyte range, and that's no problem.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess then I can throw them away.
Okay. All right.
All right. That was it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sue, do you have a question?
Yeah, this is unrelated to a lot of year-end things going on, but when we enter the pledges, there's not a bi-weekly option. And we have a few people that do it. I have to do a little finagling to get those couple of extra contributions that are being made entered into the pledges. Is that something that's being considered at all?
I want to say absolutely. I believe it is. If you give me one quick second here, I'm going to take a look. Make sure we've got that story pulled up. Yes. Yep. I'm going to mark this for consideration for CDM plus 12 to add a bi-weekly pledge frequency. That makes a lot of sense to kind of flesh that out.
Yeah, it's just helpful.
Absolutely. All right, we'll take a look.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Tom, do you have a question?
Oh, yes. Back on Engage and the giving fund sets, is there a way to change the order of the entries in those sets without just having to recreate them?
Sure. So are you looking to change the order of the sets themselves or the items in the set?
The items within the set.
Okay, gotcha. Currently, I don't believe so. You do have to remove and add those. We did, in the update on Tuesday, have the ability to drag and drop and reorder the sets themselves. Tell you what, Terry, if you'll make a note, I believe Joe put a story up for that fairly recently when he was rebuilding giving sets. We'll go ahead and get that built in because that makes a lot of sense. But today you would need to say, if I wanted to have a general fund on here, I believe this follows the sort order that's controlled in CDM Plus, and the story is to let you sort of do a custom order in the set. So yeah, right now it's going to follow the order. Let's see. The order that's defined over under your CDM Plus contribution setup. When you go to giving funds here, you can reorder these sets here, and it should be following that order.
Okay, well, that's good to know too. Okay, great.
This controls entry in CDM Plus, like I said, currently engaged and so on. So if you've got a good order, like if you want 2020 to the top or something like that, you can come in here and say, yeah, 2020, that needs to go to the top, and that'll affect engage as well.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll also look at adding an option to sort of do your own order if you want to do something special for, like, a particular appeal set.
Right, that's what we were looking for. Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alex, I'm going to jump over to the chat again. We have several questions in there. Shoggy, he's in New Jersey, and he was asking if can you link other giving apps to CDM Plus? Some of his members are using another app for their giving, and right now they're manually entering contributions into CDM Plus.
Sure. So we do not offer an import into contributions from a third-party app. Instead, we encourage you to look at Engage, because Not only does that directly save into contributions, the deposits process really nicely into accounting. But if you are going to use another app, the feature we were discussing a little bit ago for the recurring donations is a huge time saver, especially if you have people doing recurring gifts. So often what folks will do is they'll go into their giving unit records. And let's say here, for example, this giver is set up, whether it's through another app or through their bank. Maybe they make a $50 gift every week. What you can do is go in on their giving unit record under recurring giving, and you can set up sort of a recurring gift there. We'll say that starts on the 1st, and that's check. You could track a separate type if you want, $50 to general 2020. And on this schedule, you can say, yeah, this runs weekly, and then just go ahead and save that setup. Now that inherently won't create the gifts. What you would then do is turn around over in batch contributions entry, and you would add a batch here for whenever you're keying in the gifts from your app. Hit OK. And then you're going to come down and use this load feature. And load lets you go in and say, all right, so I would have had a couple due. You can skip, you can delay, you can change the gift. So again, kind of build the bulk of your recurring donations this way. It saves a lot of the time on the data entry. And then you can come back to that batch and add any sort of one-off donations. So that's generally how people do it. Or, of course, you can always take a look at Engage.
Jerry, do you have a question?
I do. And this has to do with payroll. Because of COVID and everything, we only have 4 employees, but we're giving a bonus at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. I've made the checks up, but I went into payroll and I just changed everything from what's done bi-weekly, changed the taxes and did it that way. Should I have done it a different way?
Yeah, I think that'll technically work. Normally what folks would do for a year-end bonus or something like that. I've got I know an employee here. I set up some screenshots the other day. Normally what you can do is if you go in, and my understanding is you change this maybe to annual or something like that and just put that in. What you can do is add a second pay item here. We'll maybe call this bonus. And we'll go down and add that type. And you can make this just an annual and go ahead and set the rate here. Here's a $250 bonus, for example, salary. And then what you'll do is go ahead and generate that particular frequency when you do your payroll. So here under your create regular payroll, this one is salary. Oops, sorry, that's on the other screen. When you turn on annual, that's going to activate that bonus item. So that's normally how we recommend you set those up. I think really as long as you sort of change your setup back so that your next regular payroll goes through regularly, there shouldn't be an issue with generating it the way that you did. It might get a little confusing looking at some of the reports, but I'd imagine the amount would probably make it clear that that was a year-end bonus.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Trying to unmute Lisa Taylor here. There we go. Lisa, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. And this is in mark invoices and in the payables. Mm-hmm. When you go to your mark your invoices to pay, we use the accrual basis. And so we accrue some invoices already. And we have several different accounts and we have different payees. But when you have a list and you have many accounts and payees, I know in all the other areas you can sort that.
Yes.
But can you, I don't know if it's mine or if it's something that maybe we could suggest that you sort.
Yeah. And you're looking for this list right here, right?
Yes. Yeah. And mine is really long.
Yeah.
So it's nice if we could sort.
That came up. I'm looking at, actually looks like this was put in here twice. We had a suggestion to add that. Let me look at this here. Actually, there might be. Let me ask you. Maybe you can tell me. There's an open bug. Looks like development hasn't gotten to it yet. Is this something that used to work for you?
I've never used that because because now we do the mobile receipts.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're coming in different ways, and it's just being put in differently. And so it's very different. And
yeah. Okay, you are the second person definitely to report this. We had a request on the exact same thing at our What's New in 11.1 webinar a couple months back. Let me actually see if we can't maybe get this in one of the updates sooner rather than later. That should be a very simple thing to add.
that would be nice.
Right now, not, but give us a month or two and let's see what we can do.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Trying to unmute you. There we go.
Okay.
Joan, do you have a question?
Yes, I have a couple questions. One is about the single event tool through web ministry.
Mhm.
At one time, we could kind of customize that, but it doesn't seem, we can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And the thing that I was trying to do is, like, now you have gender, you have male or female.
Mhm.
You don't have any other choices that you could put in there. That's just the last thing I ran up against.
Yeah, gotcha. So yes, the web ministry tool for the single event registration tool back in, gosh, I'm trying to remember when we made this change. I want to say this was kind of fall or sometime 2019. We had sort of an old version of it and the newer version, and the biggest difference there was that you didn't have what we call the design that actually lets you go in and sort of change the fonts and the styles and things like that. And we moved everyone to the newer style. It is responsive, works a lot better on mobile devices, which is where we see a lot of activity these days. But some of those fields are available under the options here in terms of being able to go in and toggle some things. Let me find a youth event so I can get gender on here. So gender here is a field. If you've got a camp or youth event, you can change the name of it. You can toggle whether it's required or not required, or just straight up hide that option. And I'm trying to think. Let me take a look at registration.
The other thing they were asking me to do is to put in a second signature, digital signature, because they like to have the parent sign and the camper sign.
Gotcha. Let me make sure. So in registration entry, this is going to pull down from the user defined list of genders, which you can set under the master coding system. We've got the 3 built in, male, female, unknown. You can add additional ones there, prefer not to specify, that sort of thing. So let me just double check real quick that this tool is.
And I did that. I did add one, prefer not to say. That's what they were, the camp directors was asking me, and I added that, but it did not show up under on the online registration.
All right, Terry, can you make a note to reproduce and report that? That sounds like a bug. The registration tool should give you the same options that you got on registration entry in CDM Plus. So that's definitely the one that if those gender lists aren't agreeing, that's a bug. We'll get that fixed. For a second signature, currently there's not a way to do that, but Terry, can you make a note of that as well? That's something that I think we ought to be able to add as we rebuild registration over into Engage, either as a second user field or something along those lines. So right now there's not a way to add that, but we'll look to add that going forward.
I got it.
Okay, I do it, and I have one more question. It is about online contributions, and I don't use the accounting part of CDM. I have a separate accounting system, but all of our online contributions, payments, etc., does come through stewardship through CDM. I cannot generate a report out of CDM that will match what has been deposited into the bank.
Gotcha.
For any given time period.
Okay, so what you want to do, even though you're not using the accounting, you will still have access to what's called the deposit processing. And that's the feature that goes and looks at the deposits that were actually put into your bank account, kind of reconciles those back to the gifts, and then turns around and it puts them into the ledger. So even if you don't have accounting or aren't using accounting, you still can use the deposit processing and to get you a detailed report of actually what's going into a specific deposit. So you don't need to set up full chart accounts or anything like that. All you basically need is even just one income, one expense for your fees, and one asset to record that. And then we give you access to deposit processing and also a ledger by accounts to get you reports you can key into your other system. So,
And where is all that at under? What's that under?
that is, so if you go here under program to ledger, this is the deposit processing window. And my guess is when you pull that up, it's going to show you, so let me get mine. It's opening up on another screen here. It's going to check with stewardship, and it's going to pull in all the deposits that have hit your bank account. So I can say, for example, here's one for December 9th. And it's got these specific transactions coming in here and who those are. So you can still, even though you're not actually using the accounting, you can turn around and just go ahead and process this. And you can print this report out, and this will give you a nice breakdown to say, okay, this was the total to our income. Here's how much we had in fees. This was the net, and then key that into a separate system.
And I'm sorry, what was that under? Under program?
Under program, ledger, and deposit process.
Ledger. Okay, see, I don't have that.
Now in yours,
I don't, everything from payables through payroll is grayed out. I don't have that in my program.
That's going to move at some point in yours. If you look up under the contributions menu, do you see deposit processing listed there?
Process pending. Yes, I have that.
Are you on CDM Plus 11.1?
Yep, I'm on the latest version.
Okay, you should have access. Your Engage plan ought to have that lit up for you. If you don't mind, drop us an email over at support, and we can take a look. You should have access to that feature even without owning the accounting portion.
Okay, well, I have called support and had conversations with y'all a couple times about this, and no one's been able to fix it. That's why I wanted to get on this chat and talk directly to you today.
Gotcha. No, that should absolutely be doable. Do you mind if you can use maybe I don't know if you can go into the direct chat there. Can you go into the chat window and send me your name, your church, and so on. Terry, I might get you to follow up on that, because that should be available. We'll take a look and make sure everything's set up right first.
Okay.
What is your name?
I'm Joan, up the regional office in Tennessee.
Oh, Joan. Okay.
You know me, Terry.
I know you, Joan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Terry, can you make a note just to look at Christian Church in Tennessee?
Yep.
And we'll make sure that's set up correctly.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, Alex, I'm going to go back over to some of the chat questions we had for people that had to leave.
Okay.
So these are three questions from Karen. She said, I've been told by CPAs that a PPP loan is treated as a liability until forgiven, and then it becomes income. Is that true?
I would refer to a CPA at that point. Again, I don't want to sound much like a broken wheel. We try not to give specific advice like that. Now, if the question was, I've got X balance and a liability and I need to then turn that into income, yeah, I can definitely tell you how to make a ledger entry for that. Essentially debit out that liability, credit your income account, and everything looks peachy keen at that point. So that's very doable to record in accounting if that's what you need to do.
Okay. Second question was, I recently discovered credit card payables. What is the step-by-step for entering payables and then paying off the card?
Fantastic. I'm so glad you asked that because I rewrote the documentation on this just the other day. So we're going to go over to the Help Center, and I'll just go back up to the top here, and I'm going to do a search by credit card. And here's a page for entering credit card purchases. And this is going to walk you through exactly, here's how to do the setup, and then the initial invoice you put in, marking it to be paid, posting it, and so on. So here's this just walks you through step by step what you need to do, and also kind of gives a shout out to mobile receipts. And this should get you going from there. I don't know if you, Chris, maybe drop a link over in the chat to this page.
Okay. And the last question she had was that she said there was a glitch on the interest tab in bank recs, and she was wondering if that was fixed.
Let's see, interest bank rec. So one thing we might search here is if I look for interest bank reconciliation, 1113. So if I search in the Help Center, one of the items that is searched here are the actual release notes, which have all the detailed changes for our updates. So right here, I can see in CDM Plus 1113. Let me scroll down to sort of the issues resolved. There was a bug here, unable to add interest to a bank reconciliation. So if that's what you're running into, then 1113 has the fix. If you're on 1113 and you're still running into a problem, give us a call and we'll take a closer look. Maybe that's another bug or something else is going on. But I can tell you there was a fix here for adding interest to bank reconciliations in 1113.
Great. All right. Marlene had another question. She said, I've been manually tracking the hours we pay people while the church is closed. For instance, our facilities manager and child care provider are paid 6 hours, but the child care provider is not on premises, and most of the facility manager's work is done off premises. Can this be tracked in CDM Plus?
Yeah, there's not any reason that you couldn't just put in the hourly payroll and calculate that, whether they're on premises or not. Let's see. Probably the only gotcha at this point. You could do one payroll to sort of sum up all the hours over the course of the year. I would keep those separate records just in case that was ever contested in terms of, did they work overtime or not? You could enter those individually. So yeah, there's no reason you couldn't set them up under payroll and then go ahead and pay and track the payroll there. And this was in the chat. You don't have any, I guess we don't have any other information about, are they trying to lump the payments together and pay them all at once or how that works. But yeah, I don't see any reason you couldn't track that with payroll. Or if they were a contractor, you could pay them over in accounts payable and do it that way as well.
All right. I had a question from Janine. It's kind of a broad one. She says, please address how this program can work for nonprofit or social organizations outside of a church setting.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually glad you asked that. One of the features we added in CDM Plus 11.1 is what we call a nonprofit version, or it's a nonprofit customization. And this is actually part of a strategy to take our DonorWorks product, which is essentially offers all the same functionality and basically is the same code as CDM Plus, but puts a nonprofit or a non-church focus on it. Most of that comes in the course of changing terms. And we've got a great page here over on the DonorWorks side that kind of talks about DonorWorks and CDM Plus and explains some of the differences. So there's a section here that kind of tells you everything that's different. Now, DonorWorks is being sunset. We're moving everyone that was on DonorWorks over to CDM Plus. But the way we're doing that is by transitioning them to the nonprofit version. So everything here is what you get in the nonprofit version of CDM Plus. So instead of talking about maybe individuals or contributions or giving units or pastoral notes or so on, we use terms that are a little more broad or specific to a nonprofit, donors and constituents and so on. You can change this past that. We've got plenty of nonprofit clients that do have more of a membership relationship with their constituents than just sort of a one-off donation. So to call it membership, that makes a lot of sense for them. You can totally customize this. In the nonprofit version, there is a tab that kind of tracks some more religious or spiritual data points, baptisms, transfers, dedications. Again, all of that can be renamed. You can change these to mean different dates that you want to keep track of. And if you don't, even if you don't want this field, you can just turn that off. So there's some customizations that kind of light up automatically with the nonprofit, just to sort of take some of that specific language out. And then past that, CDM Plus works great for tracking any kind of organization where you're dealing with people or donations or accounting or payroll or registrations or anything like that. I mean, ask me what kind of organization you are, and we probably have a client along those lines there. We've got quite a diversity of different nonprofits, both secular, faith-based, large or smaller, using CDM Plus in different sort of different focus areas. So yeah, it absolutely works. The nice thing, again, being a nonprofit, all your donations, you can track what's tax deductible, what's not tax deductible. And that's a huge benefit to being able to then turn around and do either receipts or year-end statements, however you want to give those out as required by your 501c3 status. So again, that's, yeah, Chris, you said, yeah, that it's a good broad question. I know that was kind of a broad answer, but absolutely call our sales team if you want some questions there. And we'll be happy to give you plenty of examples and explore that with you, how that might work.
Yeah, Janine just came in the chat. She said it's for a sorority.
Oh yeah, we've got plenty of sororities and fraternities using the program. Absolutely. If are you currently a client? Or are you considering using? If you're considering using CDM Plus, definitely call our sales line or reach out. I believe Mr. Steve Hansen on our sales team is on the call, and he does a lot of work with our nonprofit prospects and clients, and he definitely could give you some references and some examples of how this has worked. I want to say we even had one. It wasn't a sorority. It was a college group that was using the program to sort of take attendance, and we built something for them to use student ID cards to record that with a scanner. Which is kind of a fun feature to build.
Or Janine just she just came on here. She said she's considering strongly.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, yeah. I just wanted to. I wanted to see what was parallel from the church setting to the sorority setting, and I'm excited and I like what I hear. Who is the person I need to get in contact with, or what type of information I need to put down?
Great. Steve Hansen is in our sales team, and he does a lot of work with our nonprofits. If you email sales@cdmplus.com, but also Steve, if you're listening, maybe you could send a chat directly over to Janine Bush, I believe.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for your information. This has been outstanding. Appreciate your time.
You're very welcome.
Dale Chapman, you have another question?
I do. Some giving codes can be marked so that anything that goes into that it is not tax deductible. But I have a number of people who are now paying their pledges, which should be tax deductible, from accounts like a qualified charitable distribution or a charitable fund. And so it's the nature of the payment type that makes it not tax deductible, not the giving fund that it's going to. Is there any way to code a payment type so that when I check that the payment type is a charitable fund, it automatically says it's not tax deductible?
Right, it's marked not.
Because
That-
if I have to also remember to, make a little check mark next to, it's a lot. It taxes my brain.
Oh, absolutely. No, I absolutely see what you're saying. I have not heard that one before, and that's a great idea. Just to recap, I might be in here and I've got my person pulled up, and I'm gonna choose, a stock or something along those lines. Whatever the payment type is here, even though I've got ties, choosing this would automatically mark these as not tax deductible.
Yeah.
Terry, if you'd be so kind to put down a suggestion, that doesn't exist today, but that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, I'm a little confused on this one.
Yeah. So normally, Terry, the not tax the tax deductible checkbox here is toggled by the default on the fund.
Right.
And what Dale is saying is that when she has a specific payment type chosen, that needs to make all of these marked not tax deductible regardless of the fund default. Basically, that the payment type would overrule the setting on the given fund. That's a great idea. So if you can put that story up, let's take a look at getting that built in. In the meantime, Dale, if you will, once you've got all your gifts in for 2020, if you'll drop us an email and say, Alex told me at the webinar, you can make sure that all the gifts to this payment type are marked not tax deductible. We can make sure that's set on the back end. We just checking your data right there.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and that would catch an edge.
One other thing from a previous question that about event registrations.
Mm-hmm.
Early on in the pandemic, when we were limited to 10 participants, we had some people say, well, I maybe would register if there were only going to be 3 or 4 people there, but if there are going to be 10 people there, then I'm really not going to come. So is there any way that as part of the registration screen, you can see how many people are already registered for an event, particularly one that has a limited number of attendees?
Not currently, but we did get the request to add that, and I think for this exact reason. And that's something that when you go into Engage right now and go to register, it would make a lot of sense to add sort of current capacity there, or have the option to show that. So not currently, but that's something we'll definitely be looking at when we kind of rebuild online registration.
Great.
Yeah, and it also just occurred to me, you could definitely run was it here? The contribution custom listing and export, and you could find anything, for example, or find those gifts where the not tax deductible is not checked, but the payment type is one of those payment types.
Oh, great, great, thank you.
That would let you just check right there on your own time.
Super.
All right.
All right, Alex, I think I got all the questions that were in the chat. If anybody else has a question, feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll definitely hang out here for a couple of minutes just in case there's anyone else. But if not, I certainly wish everybody a wonderful holiday celebration, a Merry Christmas, a wonderful Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, New Year's. Whatever you may be doing to sort of celebrate a time to stop and take stock at the end of one year before we get ready for the next year. And again, we're always grateful for all of you. Talking to almost 3,000 people over the course of the year is just a wonderful. That's a wonderful metric of human connection, which I'm very, very happy to see. So, any questions or any feedback or suggestions, please let us know. We're always happy to hear those. But otherwise, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day and a great Friday and great weekend.